Ethan Carter had never seen anything like the Galactic Academy before. The massive space station floated gracefully in the black void, its metallic spires glittering under the light of a distant star. Ships of every shape and size docked along. The enormous landing bays and beings of countless species moved purposefully, their colors and forms a blur of diversity. Humans were rare here, often treated as weak and inexperienced. Ethan, however, was not worried. He had always thrived on challenges. As he stepped off the transport shuttle, his boots clicked against the polished floor, echoing in the cavernous arrival hall. A holographic sign above shimmered with the words, "Welcome to the Galactic Academy, Excellence Beyond Species." Ethan's eyes sparkled with anticipation. He knew this was the place where legends were made. But legends, he quickly realized, were not always made with open arms. A tall, muscular alien with iridescent blue skin and piercing orange eyes approached him. He was clearly of Zorathian descent, one of the most respected and competitive species in the galaxy. The alien's gaze swept over Ethan from head to toe. "You're human," the alien said, a smirk twisting his features. "I've heard stories. They say humans can barely survive basic training." Ethan met the gaze without flinching. "I've heard that too," he replied calmly, "but I guess we'll see." The alien's smirk faltered slightly. "You can't do it," he said with confidence, his voice echoing around the hall. "The academy is not for your kind. You will fail." Ethan didn't reply. He didn't need to. He had learned long ago that words could be misleading, but actions rarely were. He followed the alien, who introduced himself as Krell, through a maze of corridors that seemed to stretch endlessly. Around them, other students glanced curiously at Ethan. Some whispered, some laughed. The human's reputation for weakness preceded him. But Ethan had a secret. Humans were underestimated for a reason. Aliens relied heavily on raw strength, speed, and rigid logic, while humans had adaptability and intuition, qualities that often went unnoticed until it was too late. The first test was announced as they entered a large chamber filled with shifting platforms, floating barriers, and holographic obstacles. A holographic instructor floated in the air, its voice calm but commanding. "Welcome to the gravity maze. Your task is simple: reach the end. Score depends on speed, precision, and efficiency. Let the challenge begin." The doors opened, and the alien students darted forward immediately. Krell leapt effortlessly, his movements sharp and precise. Ethan paused for a moment, surveying the maze. He noticed patterns in the shifting barriers, timing in their movements, and a rhythm to the floating platforms. While the others relied on brute strength and fast reflexes, Ethan relied on observation and strategy. As the aliens rushed ahead, many miscalculated jumps or collided with moving obstacles. Krell grunted in frustration as he stumbled slightly, clearly annoyed at the minor error. Meanwhile, Ethan began moving carefully but steadily, anticipating the maze's changes. He calculated the timing of each platform and floated through the barriers with minimal effort. By the time Krell reached the midpoint, panting and slightly scratched from collisions, Ethan was already halfway through, his progress smooth and confident. Some aliens glanced at him with surprise. "How is he doing that?" whispered a tall, tentacled being. The end of the maze appeared ahead, and the obstacles became even more complex. Aliens scrambled, relying on speed and aggression, but Ethan continued calmly, adjusting his movements based on observation rather than force. When he finally crossed the finish line, he did so without a single mistake. The score flashed in bright letters above him. 100. Perfect. The chamber fell silent. Krell's eyes widened, his smirk completely gone. He had expected Ethan to struggle, maybe fail, but this was beyond anything he had anticipated. Ethan looked back at the other students, some of whom now stared at him with a mixture of awe and disbelief. He simply shrugged. "I told you," he said softly, his calm demeanor contrasting sharply with the chaos around him. The instructor's holographic form nodded. "Exceptional performance, Ethan Carter. Your observation and strategy were remarkable. Continue to Part 2, Team Exercises in Cosmic Strategy. Krell clenched his fists, clearly furious but unable to deny the human's talent. "Luck," he muttered, though his tone lacked conviction. Ethan didn't respond. He knew it was not luck, but practice, patience, and the human mind's ability to think differently. As the students moved on, Ethan took a moment to look around the chamber. The academy was vast, and challenges here were designed to push every species to their limits. But he felt ready. Humans had a reputation for being weaker, but Ethan knew the truth. Humans were adaptable, resilient, and clever. Qualities that could outshine strength or logic in ways few could imagine. That night, as Ethan settled into his small dormitory, he reflected on the day. He was far from the most physically powerful student, and Krell's presence reminded him that prejudice and doubt were constant companions. But humans had something special, the ability to see solutions where others saw only obstacles. And in Yainyoya, a place like the Galactic Academy, that might just be enough to turn the tide. Outside the window, the stars stretched endlessly, a reminder of the vast universe waiting to be explored and conquered. Ethan knew this was only the beginning. He had arrived at the academy to learn, yes, but also to prove something far greater, that humans were not weak, and underestimating them came at a cost. As he drifted into sleep, a quiet smile crossed his face. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new tests, and new skeptics. But Ethan was ready. Humans had survived against impossible odds on Earth. Now, in the heart of the galaxy, they would show the universe what they were truly capable of. The next morning, Ethan woke to the hum of the Galactic Academy. The air in the dormitory felt charged with energy and tension. Every student moved with purpose, talking excitedly about the next challenge. Today was the Cosmic Strategy Game, a test designed to measure intelligence, teamwork, and tactical thinking. Ethan ate a quick breakfast, in silence observing his fellow students. Aliens of all shapes and sizes gathered in groups, forming teams based on species. Humans were rare, often sidelined in these exercises. Krell, the Zarathian from yesterday, approached him with a thin smile. "You'll need luck today too," Krell said, his tone almost mocking. "Strategy is not your strength." Ethan simply nodded. "We'll see." When the teams assembled in the massive strategy hall, holographic projections of a simulated galaxy lit the room. Planets, fleets, and resources floated in three-dimensional space. The objective was to capture key planets and outmaneuver enemy forces within a set time. Success required careful coordination, quick thinking, and adaptability. Ethan's team was a mix of species, including two small, fast-moving aliens called Rhynex, and a tall, armored creature named Thaler. Many team members looked doubtful at the human's presence. "Do you even know how this works?" whispered one Rhynex, barely hiding skepticism. Ethan ignored the whispers. Instead, he quietly scanned the battlefield, noticing patterns in how the other teams moved. The aliens relied on predictable logic, grouping forces in the same way every time. Humans, however, had the ability to anticipate unpredictability and adapt quickly, an advantage Ethan intended to use. The challenge began. Holographic fleets zoomed across the simulated galaxy. Planets changed hands rapidly as teams clashed in battle. The aliens on Ethan's team immediately began rushing into attacks without consulting him. He observed calmly, noting weaknesses in their approach. Krell's team quickly dominated one corner of the galaxy, smirking as they thought victory was assured. But Ethan had already noticed a flaw. Krell's forces were overextended, leaving critical planets weakly defended. "Move the fleet to Sector 7, Ethan suggested calmly to his team. Not to attack directly, but to cut off Krell's supply lines. Thaler, hold the defensive perimeter. Rhynex, intercept any flanking maneuvers. The team hesitated. Humans were rarely trusted to give orders, and the aliens were reluctant to follow. But Ethan's calm confidence carried weight. Slowly, they moved according to his plan. As the game progressed, Krell's confident smirk began to fade. His overextended forces were now vulnerable, and Ethan's team exploited every weakness. Using a combination of distraction, feints, and careful positioning, Ethan managed to capture the critical planets he had identified. The other aliens were astonished. "How did he see that?" whispered a silver-scaled student. "No one predicted it." Krell, watching in disbelief, growled softly. He realized the human had outsmarted him without ever engaging in direct confrontation. Ethan's approach relied not on strength or speed, but on observation, anticipation, and strategy, the very qualities aliens often overlooked. With minutes remaining, Ethan's team executed the final move. They coordinated attacks across multiple sectors, forcing Krell's forces to retreat. The holographic projection displayed the final score: Ethan's team, 100 points. Krell's team, 82 points. A wave of murmurs spread through the hall. Aliens who had mocked humans before now looked on with surprise, some even with admiration. Krell's eyes narrowed, his pride wounded. He had never imagined that a human could outperform him, let alone with such ease. The instructor's holographic form floated above the battlefield. Outstanding P analyze patterns and adapt to Chang. The next day dawned with a sense of quiet tension in the Galactic Academy. Word of Ethan Carter's perfect score in both the gravity maze and the cosmic strategy game had spread quickly. Students whispered in corridors, some in admiration, others in disbelief. The aliens who had doubted humans now watched him carefully. Krell, the Zarathian who had mocked him on arrival, was fuming. His pride was wounded, and he could not tolerate the idea that a human had outperformed him. Today he decided he would challenge Ethan personally. "Human," Krell said, blocking Ethan's path in the training hall, "I challenge you to a simulation of advanced starship physics. Let's see if your luck continues." Ethan looked up calmly. "I'm ready," he replied. His voice was steady, betraying no hint of fear or arrogance. The training hall transformed into a vast simulation chamber. A holographic starship hovered before them, intricate panels glowing with data. The simulation was notoriously difficult, requiring quick thinking, precise adjustments, and mastery of complex physics equations. Many students, even experienced aliens, struggled to maintain control. Krell climbed into his station confidently. His fingers danced across controls, adjusting thrust vectors and recalibrating energy fields. "Humans are lucky with simple challenges," he muttered. "This is far beyond your capabilities." Ethan took his seat, studying the controls for a few seconds. He noticed the same patterns he had seen in previous challenges. The simulation relied not only on raw skill, but on prediction. Objects in the simulation moved with semi-predictable patterns, and understanding these was key to success. The simulation began. Krell launched his ship into the course, maneuvering aggressively. He attacked obstacles directly, relying on speed and force. Ethan, by contrast, observed and calculated. He anticipated the movements of floating debris and gravitational anomalies, adjusting the ship's trajectory with minimal effort. As Krell advanced, he grew frustrated. Ethan's movements were smooth and precise. Where Krell had rushed into danger, Ethan had avoided it, maintaining control while conserving energy. Every minor adjustment made by Ethan seemed effortless. "Impossible," Krell muttered, his claws tightening on the controls. "How does he do this?" Ethan didn't answer. He relied on focus and observation, letting the simulation guide his decisions. He noticed a pattern in the energy fields, a repeating fluctuation that, if timed correctly, could propel the ship forward with perfect efficiency. Krell had ignored this subtle hint, blinded by his need to attack head-on. As they reached the UAI, midpoint of the course, Krell's ship collided with a gravitational anomaly, forcing him to correct aggressively. Ethan, using his calculated path, glided past the same obstacle without difficulty. The observers around them murmured in surprise. Even Krell's own team began to whisper. "You see?" Ethan said quietly, almost to himself. "Observation matters more than force." Krell's expression hardened. He adjusted his course aggressively, trying to regain the lead. But Ethan had already calculated the optimal path for the remainder of the simulation. Using minimal energy and precise timing, he navigated the remaining obstacles flawlessly. The simulation ended. A bright display appeared above them. Ethan, 100. Krell, 87. The chamber fell silent. For the first time, Krell's confidence wavered completely. His smirk from earlier challenges had vanished, replaced by a grim frown. He stared at the perfect score, unable to comprehend how a human could achieve it so effortlessly. Ethan unbuckled himself from the seat and stood. "It's not luck," he said calmly. "It's noticing what others miss, predicting patterns, and adapting. You can rely on strength, but observation can be stronger." Krell's fists clenched. He had underestimated humans repeatedly, and now the truth was undeniable. "Humans," he muttered, his voice low and unwillingly respectful. "Perhaps you are more than I thought." Observers began to approach Ethan, curious and impressed. Many wanted to understand how he had succeeded where experienced aliens had failed. Ethan explained patiently, using simple examples and clear reasoning. He demonstrated that humans were capable of solving complex problems through creativity and intuition, not just brute strength or memorization. Some aliens began to reconsider their assumptions. "Maybe humans have potential," whispered one. "We judged too quickly." The academy instructors, observing from the upper gallery, noted Ethan's calm demeanor, his patience, and his ability to think critically under pressure. They recorded his performance for analysis, impressed by the unique approach that defied conventional alien training methods. Even Krell's attitude began to shift. Though frustrated, he realized that Ethan's victories were not flukes. Humans possessed a rare combination of intelligence and adaptability. In a galaxy dominated by species that prized physical prowess or rigid logic, this made humans unpredictable and formidable. After the simulation, the students gathered in the hall. Krell approached Ethan reluctantly. "You are good," he admitted. "Better than I expected. I will not underestimate humans again." Ethan nodded. "Thank you," he said simply. "I hope you learn from it. We all have something to teach each other." Krell's gaze softened, though his pride remained intact. "Perhaps, but don't think this ends here. The academy will continue to test you. Humans may have cleverness, but other challenges will require more than observation." Ethan smiled faintly. "I'm ready for whatever comes next." Later, as the students dispersed, Ethan reflected on the day. Each challenge at the Galactic Academy was designed to push limits, but his approach had proven effective. Calm observation, anticipation, and adaptability. He had shown that humans could compete and excel against the galaxy's most advanced species. Outside the simulation chamber, the stars glimmered through the Academy's vast observation windows. Ethan's mind wandered to future challenges: the starship simulation, advanced combat exercises, and interstellar exploration tests. Each would be an opportunity to demonstrate that humans were not just survivors but innovators, capable of thinking in ways aliens could not predict. For the first time, Krell and others were beginning to see humans as something more than weak or expendable. They were realizing that humans' true power lay not in muscle or memory, but in the mind and spirit. Ethan walked toward the dormitory that evening, a quiet determination in his step. He knew the academy was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges, dangers, and opportunities. But humans had one advantage that many aliens lacked: the ability to adapt, to innovate, and to thrive against expectations. As he looked out at the stars, he thought of all the challenges ahead. He didn't fear them. He embraced them. For humans, the impossible was only a problem waiting for a solution, and Ethan Carter was ready to prove it time and time again. The sun, or at least the bright artificial light of the Galactic Academy's observation dome, shone on the training yard. But today, Ethan's mind was far from sunlight. He was about to face the starship simulation, the Academy's most difficult challenge yet. It was designed not just to test skill, but calmness under pressure, teamwork, and decision-making in chaotic conditions. Ethan arrived at the simulation bay, a massive hangar filled with hovering starships and holographic control panels. Other students were already settling into their seats, adjusting controls and running preliminary checks. The instructors' holograms floated above the ships, outlining today's challenge. Navigate a starship through an unstable asteroid field while maintaining speed and energy efficiency. Any misstep could cause catastrophic failure in the simulation. The humans were again a minority. Ethan's team included Thalor, the armored alien from the strategy game, 2 Rhynex scouts, and a young, intelligent species called Valari, whose tentacle-like limbs moved with incredible dexterity. Krell was assigned to another team, of course, and his reputation preceded him. He looked confident, his gaze briefly meeting Ethan's. The silent acknowledgement passed between them. Neither would underestimate the other today. As the simulation began, Ethan's team launched their ship. Immediately, the field revealed its complexity. Asteroids of all sizes moved unpredictably, some rotating rapidly, others on collision courses with one another. The ship's sensors beeped warnings continuously. Aliens reacted instinctively, adjusting thrusters aggressively and relying on speed to avoid collisions. Ethan remained calm. He studied the asteroid patterns and the energy flows of the ship's shields. While others reacted hastily, he predicted trajectories and coordinated the ship's movements with minimal adjustments. But halfway through the course, disaster struck. A massive asteroid unexpectedly veered toward the ship, far larger than anything in the training data. The alien pilots panicked, pressing multiple controls at once. Energy shields overloaded, thrusters malfunctioned briefly, and the ship lurched violently. "Stay calm," Ethan shouted. "Thalor, stabilize the main thrusters. Valari, monitor shield integrity. Rhynex scouts, intercept debris on port and starboard." The team froze for a moment, surprised at the humans' clarity amidst chaos. Then they followed his instructions. With precise, coordinated movements, Ethan guided them through the immediate danger. The observers above whispered among themselves. Never before had a human demonstrated such command in a crisis of this magnitude. Even Krell's eyes widened slightly, though his expression remained. The asteroid field had subtle, repeating shifts. The Galactic Academy was never predictable, and Ethan Carter knew this. Every challenge so far had been carefully designed to push limits, to expose weakness, and to demand strengths most students didn't even know they had. But today, as the final test was announced, even the instructor's tone carried weight. "Cadets," the holographic voice boomed through the hall. "Today's test is a full starship mission. You will pilot a ship through a collapsing asteroid field while guiding a convoy of allied vessels. Failure to protect them results in total mission loss. This is no simple simulation. This is the Academy's ultimate test of leadership, strategy, and survival." The room grew silent. Protecting one ship was hard enough. Protecting many, under unstable conditions, seemed nearly impossible. Krell, standing across from Ethan, gave him a sharp look. His pride had taken many blows, but today he was determined to prove himself. "You won't win this one, human," he muttered. "Luck won't save you." Ethan didn't answer. He had learned that silence often spoke, louder than words. The cadets boarded their simulated ships. Ethan's team, once doubtful of him, now followed his lead with trust. Thalor manned the main thrusters. The Rhynex scouts took navigation and targeting, while Valari handled shields and sensors. Ethan took the captain's chair, calm and steady. The simulation began. A convoy of holographic ships appeared behind Ethan's vessel. Before them stretched a vast asteroid field glowing with unstable energy. Large rocks tumbled, smaller fragments zipped unpredictably, and gravitational pulses rippled through space. "Keep the convoy tight," Ethan instructed. "We can't let them scatter. Thalor, maintain steady speed. Rhynex scouts, watch for incoming debris. Valari, balance shields across the fleet, not just our ship." The first wave of asteroids came crashing forward. Other teams rushed ahead, trying to power through the chaos. Several lost control immediately, their convoy ships colliding and failing the test. Ethan's ship, however, moved deliberately, his calm voice guiding every action. "Left 30 degrees, he ordered. "Wait, hold. Now push thrusters at 40%. Good. Shields to rear sector. Perfect." The ship glided through, debris, bouncing harmlessly off shields. The convoy followed, steady and safe. But halfway into the course, the crisis struck. A massive gravitational surge erupted unexpectedly, pulling half the convoy toward a cluster of colliding asteroids. The aliens on Ethan's team gasped. "This wasn't in the program," Valari exclaimed. "It's real-time modification," Ethan realized. "They've made it harder. Stay focused." The gravitational pull threatened to scatter the convoy completely. If they lost formation, they would fail. Panic rippled through the team, but Ethan remained calm. His eyes darted over sensor data, calculating options quickly. "Thaler, full power to thrusters, angle us against the pull. Valari, reinforce forward shields. Rhine-X scouts, launch counter-thrust drones to stabilize the convoy ships." "But the energy cost," one Rhine-X began. "Do it," Ethan said firmly. They obeyed. The ship strained against the gravitational field, engines roaring. The drones launched, stabilizing the smaller convoy ships. Slowly, painfully, the convoy pulled free of the gravitational surge. Cheers erupted from the team. But the test wasn't finished. The asteroid field ahead was collapsing faster than predicted. Entire clusters of rock shattered into clouds of deadly debris. The instructors had turned the simulation into a nightmare. "Other teams won't survive this," Valari muttered. "Then we will," Ethan replied. His voice was calm, but his mind raced. He saw what the others missed. A narrow path through the chaos, hidden in the timing of the collapsing asteroids. It was dangerous, but possible. He stood from his chair, pointing at the projection. "There, that's the path. It looks impossible, but if we time it perfectly, we'll get through. Convoy must stay tight, no drifting. Trust me." The team hesitated for a moment, then nodded. They had learned to trust the humans' instincts. The ship plunged forward, the convoy close behind. Massive rocks smashed together just seconds after they passed, debris scattering in all directions. Ethan called out commands with precise timing. "Shields forward, cut thrusters, now boost. Rhine-X, mark the debris at Sector 5. Thaler, tilt 30 degrees, perfect. Valari, prepare full energy, burst on my mark. Mark." The convoy weaved through the chaos like a single living being, guided by Ethan's calm leadership. Aliens watching from the gallery leaned forward, stunned. Even Krell, struggling with his own team, couldn't hide his disbelief. Finally, the convoy broke free of the asteroid field, intact and unharmed. The simulation ended and the results blazed on the massive display. Ethan's team 100. All other teams failed. Silence filled the hall. Then slowly, applause began, hesitant at first, then thunderous. Aliens who had mocked humans now looked at Ethan with awe. He had done what no other species could, guided a fleet through chaos with calm precision, turning disaster into victory. The instructors addressed the hall. "Ethan Carter of Earth has completed the final test with perfection. His leadership, observation, and adaptability exemplify the highest standard of the Academy. Let this be a lesson. Strength alone does not win. Intelligence, calmness, and adaptability are greater powers." Krell stood frozen, his pride shattered completely. For the first time, he approached Ethan not with mockery, but with humility. "You saved them all," he admitted quietly. "Even I could not. You have earned my respect." Ethan nodded. "It wasn't just me. It was the team. But thank you." That night, Ethan returned to the observation deck. Stars glittered endlessly, beyond the glass vast and eternal. He thought of Earth, small and fragile compared to the galactic powers. Yet today, he had shown that humanity had something no other species could match: the ability to remain calm when all else failed, to see solutions in chaos, and to turn weakness into strength. The galaxy was beginning to notice. Humans were no longer overlooked. They were becoming a force to respect. And Ethan Carter had been the one to light that fire. As he stood there, quiet and thoughtful, he knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning of humanity's place among the stars. The news spread faster than light. Within hours of the final test, Ethan Carter's achievement was broadcast across the Galactic Academy and beyond. Worlds far from the Academy tuned in, curious about the human cadet who had scored 100 without even trying to show off. In the vast auditorium, the graduation ceremony began. Thousands of cadets filled the seats, each one representing a different star system. Tall figures with glowing eyes, scaled warriors with armored skin, and creatures with wings or fins. All stood waiting for their names to be called. But whispers filled the hall. Everyone spoke about one human. Is it true? He guided the convoy through the collapsing field. One alien whispered. They say his team didn't lose a single ship. Another answered. They say he saw patterns no one else could. At the center stage, the head instructor, an ancient being of silver and blue light, raised a hand for silence. The hall grew quiet instantly. Cadets, the voice echoed. Today we honor those who have proven themselves worthy of joining the galactic fleet. Among them is one who showed that greatness is not found in strength alone, but in adaptability, intelligence, and unity. The instructor's glowing eyes fixed on Ethan. Ethan Carter of Earth stepped forward. Ethan stood slowly. He felt the weight of countless eyes on him, some filled with admiration, others with disbelief, and some with jealousy. But as he walked to the stage, he didn't think of glory. He thought of his team, of the trust they gave him, and of Earth, waiting far away in its quiet corner of the galaxy. The instructor extended a shining medallion, the highest honor of the Academy. You are the first human to stand at this stage. You have earned not just victory but respect. Wear this not for yourself but for your people. Ethan bowed his head as the medallion was placed around his neck. A roar of applause shook the chamber. Aliens who once doubted humans now clapped, some even rising to their feet. Thalor, Vilari, and the Rhynex scouts cheered the loudest, proud to have followed him. In the crowd, Krell stood silently. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes carried something new. Respect, perhaps even friendship. When the ceremony ended, Ethan found himself surrounded. Cadets from different worlds approached, asking questions, offering congratulations, even inviting him to visit their home planets. You changed the way we see humans, Vilari said softly, standing at his side. Before you, Earth was just a forgotten world. Now, the galaxy knows your people have something special. Ethan smiled faintly. I didn't plan for this, I just wanted to do my best. That, Vilari replied, is why you succeeded. Later that evening, Ethan sat once again at the observation deck, looking out at the endless stars. His teammates joined him one by one, until the room was filled with quiet laughter and shared stories. Krell finally entered, slower than the others. For a moment he stood at the door, then walked toward Ethan. I misjudged you, Krell admitted, his deep voice carrying no pride this time. I thought humans were weak. I thought you were a joke. But today, you showed me I was wrong. You showed all of us. Ethan looked up at him calmly. I didn't come here to prove anything. I just came to learn. Then you've taught instead, Krell said. He extended his clawed hand. After a pause, Ethan took it. For the first time, there was no rivalry between them, only mutual respect. Over the following days, Than's victory reached a